Hi friends, welcome to Vysh IAS. This is Pranay and we are going to continue the Tamil Nadu history textbook part 1 of class 11th. Before I start the class, I request everybody to please like and share this video with your friends, and if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. And if you have any queries regarding the courses or the test series, kindly reach this number on WhatsApp or you can mail us. We shall start. Chapter number 8, Harsha and Rise of Regional Kingdoms. Overview. So what we are going to study. The first part of the video is the Harsha. Ancestors and contemporaries of Harsha. Military conquests of Harsha. Nature of Harsha's administration. Knowledge of religious policy of Harsha. Socio-cultural life of people in India from the accounts of Hinglish. Next, the part 2 is the Palas. History of Palas as a strong regional power in eastern India. Contribution of prominent Pala rulers such as Dharmapala, Devapala, Mahipala I in administrating their kingdom. To understand the significance of their role in the spread of Mahayana Buddhism in the Ganges plain. To gain knowledge about the contribution of Palas to literature, art and architecture. The third part of the video is the RASHTRAKUTAS. Greatness of RASHTRAKUTAs, successful rulers, Krishna I to Krishna III, and prevented the Pallava expansion northwards. To apprise yourself of the development of Kannada literature under the patronage of RASHTRAKUTAs. Okay. So we will start with the part 1 of the video, the Harsha. North India splintered into several warrior kingdoms. Okay, as we have read previously, because of the weak rulers, a lot of smaller kingdoms started. Okay, smaller kingdoms, a huge kingdom got into smaller kingdoms with very small rulers and very weak rulers. Okay, after the downfall of the Gupta Empire. Excepting in the areas that were subdued by the Huns, the modern Punjab, Rajasthan and Malwa. Okay, the western part, the northwestern part, except that more or less the remaining part of the subcontinent was divided into smaller parts. Regional identity became pronounced with the emergence of many small states. Maitriyas had organized a powerful state in the Saurashtra, Gujarat, with Vallabhi as their capital. Agra and Oudh were organized into an independent and sovereign state by the Maukharis. The Vakatakas had recovered their position of ascendancy in the western Deccan area. Okay? Despite political rivalry and conflict among these states, Thaneshwar, lying north of Delhi, between Satluj and Yamuna, was formed into an independent state by Pushyabhutis. Okay? It became an independent state by the Pushyabhutis, the Thaneshwar. Okay? It rose to prominence under Harsha. Harsha ruled the kingdom as large as that of the Guptas from 606 to 647 CE. What are the sources? Bhana's Harsha Charitra, Hutsang's CUK. These are the literary sources. The epigraphical sources are Madhuban copperplate inscription, Sonapat inscription on copper seal, Banskera copperplate inscription, Nalanda inscription on clay seals. So, a small information, Bana's Harsha Charita was first formal biography of a king. The first formal biography of a king. It inaugurated a new literary genre in India. The Vakatakas had recovered their positions of ascendancy in the western Deccan area. Despite political rivalry and conflict among these states, Thaneshwar, lying north of Delhi between Satluj and Yamuna, was formed into independent state by the Pushyabhutis. Okay? It rose to prominence under Harsha. Harsha ruled the kingdom as large as that of Gupta from 606 to 647 CE. So, who were the Pushyabhutis? The founder of Vardhana dynasty, okay, was the Pushyabhuti who ruled from Thaneshwar. Okay, the Vardhana dynasty. Harsha Vardhana. Okay, he served as the military general under the imperial Guptas. Okay, he was a military general under the imperial Guptas and rose to power after the fall of the Guptas. With the accession of Prabhakara Vardhana around 580 to 605 CE, the Pushyabhuti family became strong and powerful. Okay, Prabhakara Vardhana fought against the Gurjaras and the Huns and established his authority as far as Malwa and Gujarat. Okay, you will see the maps and all in the coming slides. It will be much more easier to understand. He gave his daughter Rajyasri in marriage to Maukhari king Grahavarman of Kanauj near modern Kanpur, thus making Kanauj his ally. Okay. Prabhakara Vardhana's dream of building an empire was eventually realized by his younger son Harsha Vardhana. Okay, this was one of the Harsha Vardhana's coin, and the image which we see is the Harsha. Rajavardhana, who was from 605 to 600 CE, the eldest son of Prabhakara Vardhana, ascended the throne after his father's death. He was treacherously murdered by Sasanka, the Gauda ruler of Bengal. Okay, he was just there for 1 year. Okay, this resulted in his younger brother Harsha Vardhana becoming the king of Thaneshwar. Harsha had known the weakness of the group of small kingdoms and conquered his neighbors to integrate them into his empire. So slowly, whatever the smaller kingdoms around his area, he slowly subdued them, slowly made ally with them, made friendship with them, and slowly he considered and conquered them into his own kingdom. As Thaneshwar was too close to the threats from the northwest, Harsha shifted his capital from Thaneshwar to Kanauj. So from Thaneshwar to Kanauj, Harsha was the person who transferred the capital. Kanauj was located in the rich agricultural region of the western Ganges plain. Okay. The magnates of Kanauj, the capital of Maukhari kingdom, on the advice of their minister Poni, invited Harsha to ascend the throne. A reluctant Harsha accepted the throne on the advice of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva with the title of Rajaputra and Siladitya. Okay. It was advised by Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. Thus, the two kingdoms of Thaneshwar and Kanauj became united, okay, under Harsha's rule. Consequently, Harsha transferred his capital to Kanauj. Okay, so Kanauj was also subdued. On his accession in 606 CE, Harsha focused his attention on the affairs of his sister Rajyasri, who had fled to Vindhya mountains to escape from the evil designs of Deva. Okay, Gupta of Malwa to covet her. Harsha went to Vindhya mountain ranges and succeeded in saving his sister, who was about to burn herself after killing Devagupta. Okay, the Devagupta of Malwa, who was trying to covet her, she killed her and she tried to burn herself. Harsha consoled Rajyasri and brought her back to the kingdom of Kanauj. Later, Rajyasri took to Buddhism and was instrumental in converting Harsha to Buddhism. Okay, so Harsha was converted to Buddhism, an indirect thing, and more or less it was done by Rajyasri, his sister. Harsha's immediate task was to take revenge on Sasanka. Harsha entered into an alliance with the king of Kamarupa, Pragyaostisha, which is today the modern Assam. Okay, but there is hardly any detail of the war between Harsha and Sasanka. However, Harsha seemed to have successfully subjugated the Gauda Empire, which included Magadha, Gauda, Odra, Kangoda only after the death of Sasanka. The hostilities between Harsha and the Maitrakas ended in the marriage of Dhruva Bhatta with the daughter of Harsha. Okay, Soon, Vallabhi became a subordinate ally of Harsha. Okay. Pulakesin II, the Chalukyan king, Harsha sought to extend his authority southwards into the Deccan. However, the Chalukyan king Pulakesin II, who controlled the region, humbled Harsha. So, Harsha was lost the war. Harsha lost the war. In commemoration of his victory over Harsha, Pulakesin assumed the title of Parameshwara. Okay? Inscriptions in Pulakesin's capital, Badami, attest to this victory. These were the Badami inscriptions. Okay? It was regarding the victory over Harsha. Okay? And he assumed the title of Parameshwara after the victory of Pulakesin over Harsha. Extent of Harsha's empire. Harsha ruled for 41 years. Okay? His alliance included those of Jalandhar in the Punjab, Kashmir, Nepal and Vallabhi. Shashanka of Bengal remained hostile to him. Okay? So, as we saw in the previous slides. Though it is claimed that Harsha's empire comprised Assam, Bengal, Bihar, Kanauj, Malwa, Odisha and Punjab, Kashmir, Nepal and Sindh, his real sway did not extend beyond a compact territory between the Ganges and Yamuna river. Okay? So, more or less, what the sentence is trying to say is basically the parts, the Assam, Bengal, Bihar and all might not be directly ruled by the king, but were indirectly ruled by the king. Okay? And Harsha was considered the emperor. The kingdom of Harsha disintegrated rapidly into small states after his death. This is a common thing. Always, whenever the great king dies or the great emperor dies, automatically the people under him start cutting off from the empire. According to historian Burton Steen, a centralized administration did not exist even under the powerful Guptas. Okay, he's talking about the Guptas. Okay, there was no centralized administration even under the powerful Guptas. It was restricted only to the central part of Gangetic plain between Patliputra and Mathura. Beyond that zone, there was no centralized authority. Okay, the only difference between Guptas and Vardhanas is that the former had formidable enemies like Hans, while the latter had no such opponents. Okay, so the Vardhanas had no opponents at all. The copper plates of 632 CE record a gift of land to two Brahmanas. Okay, gift of land to two Brahmans. The name of certain political personages with state power as protectors of the gift are mentioned in them. Okay, some were Mahasamantas, allied to king, but of subordinate status. Others were independent Maharajas but acknowledged feudatories of Harsha. There was yet another category of rulers who pledged their loyalty to Harsha and professed to be at his service. This is the characteristic of Harsha's imperial authority in North India. So, there were independent Maharajas but under the Harsha itself. Okay? Council of Ministers. It appears that ministerial administration during the reign of Harsha was the same as that of imperial Guptas. The emperor was assisted by a council of ministers, Mantri Parishad, in his duties. The council played an important role in the selection of the king as well as framing the foreign policy of the empire. The prime minister was the most important position, okay, in the council of ministers. So these were the key officials. Avanti was the Minister of Foreign Relations and War. Simhananda was Commander-in-Chief. Kuntala was the Chief Cavalry Officer. Skandagupta was Chief Commandant of Elephant Force. Dirgadwajas were the Royal Messengers. Banu was the Keeper of Records. Mahapratihara, the Chief of Palace Guard. Sarvagata was the Secret Service Department. Okay, you need to remember this specifically for the prelims. So this was the Harshavardhana's empire. You can see how almost till the end here, and almost covering most part of the Bengal, as well as parts of Assam and all. Okay, and to the north, and this was the capital. Okay. Revenue administration. Bhaga, Hiranya, and Bali were the three kinds of taxes. Okay, Bhaga, Hiranya, and Bali. Bhaga was the land tax paid in kind. Okay, 1/6 of the produce was collected as land revenue. Hiranya was the tax paid by farmers and merchants in cash. There is no reference to tax Bali. Okay, prelims in UPSC prelims, simply the UPSC will ask Bhaga Hiranya were what, and they will give some different kind of options. Okay, you just need to remember these kind of things, and if it is possible, just write it in a notebook such that you can revise them, or else you can revise this video also again before the examination, and it will be very easy for you. The crown land was divided into 4 parts. Part 1 for carrying out affairs of the state. Affairs of the state. Part 2 for paying the ministers and officers of the crown. Part 3 for rewarding men of letters. Part 4 for charity to religious institutions. Administration of justice. Criminal law was more severe than that of Gupta age. It was more severe that of Gupta age. Mimamsakas were appointed to dispense justice. Okay, so these were Mimamsakas. Mimamsakas were the justice, the judges. Banishment and the cutting of limbs of the body were usual punishments. Cutting of limbs, okay, some brutal punishment was a usual punishment there. Banishment also, you need to just leave the state and you need to go and live in forest or something. Okay, trial by ordeal was in practice. Life imprisonment was punishment for violation of the laws and for plotting against the king. So it was a life imprisonment. Hyun Sang, the Chinese pilgrim, spent nearly 13 years in India from 630 to 643 CE, collecting sacred texts and relics which he took back to China. He was known as Prince of Pilgrims because he visited important pilgrim centers associated with the life of Buddha. His CU key provides detailed information about the social, economic, religious, and cultural conditions during the reign of Harsha. Okay, CU key. CU key is written by Hyun Sang. Born in China in 612 CE, he became a Buddhist monk at the age of 20. Okay, during his travels, he visited various sacred places of northern and southern India. Hyun Sang spent about 5 years in the University of Nalanda and studied there. Harsha admired him for his deep devotion to Buddha and his profound knowledge of Buddhism. Hyun Sang carried with him around 150 pieces of relics of Buddha. Okay, 150 pieces of relics of Buddha, a large number of Buddha images in gold, silver, sandalwood, and above all, 657 volumes of valuable scripts. According to Hyun Sang, perfect law and order prevailed throughout the empire. Perfect law and order prevailed through the empire. As the law enforcing agencies were strong, the pilgrim records the principal penalties and judicial ordeals practiced in India at that time. Okay, so there were penalties and judicial ordeals which were followed. Corporal punishment was for serious offences was in practice, but the death penalty was usually avoided. Okay, offences against social morality and defiance of law were punished by miming. Miming means beating. Okay, if you are against social morality and if you defy the law, you will be getting some beatings. Harsha travelled across the kingdom frequently to ensure his familiarity with his people. He was accessible to people and kept a closer watch on his tributary rulers. See, the history which we read now, it gives a lot of information regarding the kings being very humble and accessible to people. You consider Ashoka, and in the coming future, we will read about Akbar. Okay, so these were kings, but were very easily accessible to people. That's why they became very great. Okay, administration of army. Harsha paid great attention to discipline and strength of the army. The army consisted of elephants, cavalry, and infantry. Horses were imported. Ordinary soldiers were known as chatas and batas. Cavalry officers were called brihadiswaras. Infantry officers were known as baladikritas and mahabaladikritas. Okay. Hyun Sang mentions the four divisions, the Chaturanga of Harsha's army. He gives details about the strength of each division, its recruitment system, and payment for the recruits. Division of empire. The empire was divided into several provinces. The actual number of provinces is not known. Okay, each province was divided into bhuktis. Okay, province, bhuktis, number 2. Okay, and each bhukti was divided into several vishayas, number 3. They were like the districts. The vishayas were like the districts. Each vishaya was further divided into partakas. Okay, number 4. So each such area was divided into several villages for the sake of administrative convenience. Okay, so province was divided into bhuktis then divided into vishayas, and vishayas divided into patakas. Harsha Charita refers to a number of officials who took care of local administration. Only their titles are known. What they did isn't available in Harsha Charita. We learn that Bhogapati, Ayukta, Pratapalaka Purusha, and the like looked after the local administration. Hyun Sang describes the structure, aesthetics, and safety measures of the cities, towns, and villages of India. In his view, India was the land of innumerable villages, numerous towns, and big cities like China. He pointed out that Patliputra lost its prominence and its place was taken by Kanauj. Okay? The elegance of Kanauj, with its lofty structures, beautiful gardens, and museum of rare collections, is described. The refined appearances of its residents, their costly dressings, and love for learning and art are also pointed out in his account. Most of the towns, according to Hyun Sang, had outer walls and inner gates. Though the walls were wide and high, the streets and lanes were narrow. Residential houses had balconies made of wood and coated with lime mortar. Floors were smeared with cow dung for purpose of purity and hygiene. Big mansions, public buildings, and Buddhist monasteries and viharas were magnificent multi-storied structures. Okay, the big mansions, public buildings, and Buddhist monasteries, viharas were multi-storied. They were built of kiln-fried bricks, red sandstone, and marble. Harsha constructed a large number of viharas, monasteries, and stupas on the banks of Ganges. Harsha built charitable institutions for the stay of travelers and to care for sick and the poor. Free hospitals and rest houses, the dharmasalas, in all the towns were constructed where the travelers or the outsiders could stay. Hospitals were built to provide medical treatment free of charge. Okay. So religious policy. Harsha was a worshipper of Shiva at least up to 631 CE. But he embraced Buddhism under the influence of his sister Rajeshwari. We have read it in the previous slides, right? And the Buddhist monk Hyun Sang. He subscribed to Mahayana school of thought. Yet he held discourses among learned men of various creeds. Slaughter of animals and consumption of meat was restricted. Harsha summoned two Buddhist assemblies, one at Kanauj and another at Prayag. The assembly at Kanauj was attended by 20 kings, including Bhaskaravarman of Kamarupa. Kamarupa was towards the Assam side, right? A large number of Buddhist, Jain, and Vedic scholars attended the assembly. A golden statue of Buddha was consecrated in a monastery, and a small statue of Buddha, 3 feet, was brought out in a procession. The procession was attended by Harsha and other kings. Buddhist assembly at Prayag. Harsha convened quinquennial around 5 years, okay, which happens every 5 years. Assemblies known as Mahamoksha Parishad at Prayag, at the confluence of Ganga and Yamuna. He contributed his wealth among Buddhists, Vedic scholars, and the poor people. Harsha offered fabulous gifts to Buddhist monks on all 4 days of the assemblage. So this used to happen every 5 years. Hyun Sang observed that the principles of Buddhism had deeply permeated the Hindu society. According to him, people were given complete freedom of worship. Social harmony prevailed among the followers of various creeds. Harsha treated the Vedic scholar and the Buddhist bhikshus alike and distributed charities equally to them. Okay. Caste system. Caste system was firmly established in Hindu society. According to Hyun Sang, the occupations of 4 divisions of society continued to be in practice as in the previous times. The 4 divisions. Okay? People were honest and not deceitful or treacherous in their conduct. The butchers, fishermen, dancers, and sweepers were asked to stay outside the city. Even though caste system was rigid, there was no social conflict among the various sections of the society. Status of women. Hyun Sang's account also provides us information on the position of women on the marriage system of the times. Women wore parda. Okay? The parda system was there. Hyun Sang, however, added that the parda system was not followed among the higher class. Okay? He pointed out that Rajyasri did not wear parda when listening to discourse. Sati was in practice. Sati, the burning of the widow with the remains of the husband, was in practice. Yashomati Devi, wife of Prabhakara Vardhana, immolated herself after the death of her husband. It was very cruel, okay, and very barbarous act, to be frank, which was followed. Okay. Lifestyle. The life pattern of people of India during the rule of Harsha is known from the accounts of Hyun Sang. People lived a simple life. They dressed in colorful cotton and silk clothes. The art of wearing fine clothes had reached perfection. Okay, both men and women adorned themselves with gold and silver ornaments. The king wore extraordinary ornaments, garlands and tiaras of precious stones, rings, bracelets, and necklaces were some of the ornaments used by the royalty. The wealthy merchants wore bracelets, women used cosmetics. Dietary habits. Hyun Sang also noted that Indians were mostly vegetarians. Mostly vegetarians. It means there were people who used to have non-veg. The use of onion and garlic in the food preparation was rare. Okay. The use of sugar, milk, ghee, and rice in the preparation of food or their consumption was common. On certain occasions, fish and mutton were eaten. On certain occasions only. Beef and meat of certain animals were forbidden. Okay? So, beef and meat of certain animals were restricted. Education was imparted in monasteries. Learning was religious in character. Much religious literature were produced. The Vedas were taught orally. The Vedas were taught orally and not written down. Sanskrit was the language of the learned people. An individual took to learning between 9 and 30 years of age. Many individuals devoted their whole life to learning. The wandering bhikshus and the sadhus were well known for their wisdom and culture. The people also paid respect to such people of moral and intellectual eminence. Harsha as a patron of art and literature. Okay, Harsha patronized literary and cultural activities. It is said the state spent a quarter of its revenue for such activities. They spent around a quarter of the revenue. Okay, Bana, the author of Harsha Charitra and Kadambari, was a court poet of Harsha. The emperor himself was a renowned literate, which is evident from the plays he wrote, such as Priyadarshika, Ratnavali, and Nagananda. Harsha gifted liberally for the promotion of education. Temples and monasteries functioned as centers of learning. Renowned scholars imparted education in the monasteries at Kanauj, Gaya, Jalandhar, Manipur, and other places. So these were very important educational centers. The Nalanda University reached its utmost fame during this period. Nalanda University. Hyunsang recorded the fame of Nalanda University. Students and scholars from Buddhist countries like the China, Japan, Mongolia, Sri Lanka, Tibet, and some other countries of Central and Southeast Asia stayed and studied in the university. Shilabhadra, a reputed Buddhist scholar who probably hailed from Assam, was the head of the university during the visit of Hyunsang. As an educational center of international fame, Nalanda had 10,000 students on its roll. 10,000 students. Okay, a huge university. Dharmapala, Chandrapala, Shilabhadra, Badrihari, Jayasena, Devakara, and Matanga were important teachers in the university receiving royal patronage. Okay. So this was about the Harsha. We will talk about the Palas now. After the death of Harsha, the Pratiharas, Jalore, Rajasthan, the Palas from the Bengal, and the Rashtrakutas, the Deccan, engaged in triangular contest of control of Ganges, Yamuna, Doab, and the lands adjoining it. The Palas controlled vast areas of eastern Gangetic plain. Apart from earning revenue from agriculture, Palas also derived income from their wide commercial contacts in Southeast Asia. Buddhism in Bengal provided a link between eastern India and Java and Sumatra. Establishment of Pala ruler in Bengal. Sashanka, the Gauda ruler, we had a small discussion about him in the previous slides, believed to have ruled between 590 and 625 CE and is considered the first prominent king of ancient Bengal. Okay. After the fall of Gauda kingdom, there was no central authority, which led to recurring wars between petty chieftains. When there is no central authority, we had a discussion many times that the small kingdoms grow up, and in those kingdoms also there will be a lot of fights. So in 750 CE, group of chiefs met and decided on a Kshatriya chief named Gopala to be their ruler. Okay. There is a story that Gopala was elected because his ability to kill a demoness that had killed those who were previously elected like him. Okay. Though Gopala did not have royal antecedents, he succeeded in acquiring a kingdom. Gopala's political authority was soon recognized by several independent chiefs. His original kingdom was in Vanga or East Bengal. Though Gopala did not have royal antecedents, he succeeded in acquiring a kingdom. Okay. So the Pala rulers ruled eastern India from Patliputra between the 9th and the early 12th century. Sanskrit, Prakrit, and Pali were the languages in use by their kingdom. Palas followed Mahayana Buddhism. Okay. Pala rulers. Gopala I was succeeded by the son Dharmapala, okay, who made the Pala kingdom a force to reckon with. Bengal and Bihar were directly ruled by him. Bengal and Bihar. Kanauj was ruled by his nominee. The rulers of the Punjab, Rajputana, Malwa, and Berar accepted his suzerainty. He assumed titles like Parameshwara, Paramabhattaraka, and Maharajadiraja. Okay. Dharmapala proved to be a great patron of Buddhism. He founded the Vikramashila monastery in Bhagalpur district in Bihar, which developed into a great center of Buddhist learning and culture. He built a grand vihara at Somapura in modern Maharapura, present day Bangladesh. Dharmapala also built a monastery at Odantipuri in Bihar. He patronized Harish Bhadra, a Buddhist writer. Harish Bhadra is a Buddhist writer during Dharmapala. Dharmapala's son Devapala extended Pala's control eastwards up to Kamarupa, the Assam. He defeated Amogha the Rashtrakuta ruler, by allying with him with all the states that regarded the Rashtrakutas as their common enemy. Devapala was also a great patron of Buddhism. He granted 5 villages to Balaputra Deva, the king of Sailendra dynasty of Suvarnadeepa, the Sumatra, the Indonesian, to maintain a monastery built by him at Nalanda. Nalanda continued to flourish as the chief seat of Buddhist learning even during the Pala region. Devapala was succeeded by Vigramapala, who abdicated his throne after ruling for a few years and went to lead an ascetic life. He left the throne after a couple of years and he became a sannyasi and went. Narayana Pala, the son of Vigramapala, was also a man of pacific and religious disposition. The Rashtrakutas and the Pratiharas took advantage of Narayana Pala's disposition and defeated the Palas. Okay? The rise of Pratiharas in Jalore under Mihira Bhoja and the advance of Rashtrakutas into Pala territories inevitably brought about the decline of the Palas. The petty chiefs who formerly owned allegiance to the Palas also started asserting their independence as usual. Okay, so Vigramapala, who was not very interested in the throne, he became a sannyasi and gone. After that, Narayanapala took charge. He was also somewhat related to religious disposition. So because of that, the Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas took advantage and threw him out, and because of that, the Pala started to decline. Okay. The slide of Pala dynasty was accelerated during the rule of his 3 successors, Rajyapala, Gopala III and Vigramapala II. The fortunes of the dynasty, however, were revived by Mahipala I, son of Vigramapala II. Okay. The most important event of this period was the invasion of northern India by Rajendra Chola sometime between 1020 and 1025 CE. Okay? However, the advance of the Cholas beyond the Ganges was checked by Mahipala I. So Rajendra Chola, being very ambitious, okay, he started to invade the northern India but was checked at the Ganges and was not allowed, was provided a proper resistance by Mahipala I. Okay, Mahipala I, who was the son of Vigramapala II. Okay, after 15 years of Mahipala's rule, 4 significant rulers followed. Ramapala was the last ruler who tried to recover the lost glory of the dynasty. Ramapala. He ruled for about 53 years, and after his death, the presence of Pala dynasty was confined to only a portion of Magadha and continued to exist only for a very short period of time. Vijayasena of the Sena dynasty, who had become powerful by then in the northern Bengal, expelled the last ruler, Madanapala. He was the last ruler, the Madanapala, around 1130 to 1150 CE from Bengal and established his dynastic rule. Okay. Religion. The Palas were great patrons of Mahayana Buddhism. The Buddhist philosopher Haribhadra was the spiritual preceptor of Dharmapala, the founder of Pala kingdom. Bengal remained one of the few places where Buddhist monasteries continued to exist. The kingdom as well as Buddhist soon suffered decline because of large scale conversion of merchants and artisans to Islam. Okay? Art and architecture. Two artists of this period were Deeman and his son Vitapala. They were great painters, sculptors, and bronze statue makers. The Pala school of sculptural art was influenced by Gupta art. Mahipala I constructed and repaired several sacred structures at Saranath, Nalanda, and Bodh Gaya. Gopala founded the famous monastery at Odantapura. Dharmapala established the Vikramashila and the Somapura Mahaviharas, which is in Bangladesh. This is Somapura Mahavihara. The prominent Buddhist scholar of Vikramshila and Nalanda universities were Atisha, Saraha, Nilopa, Dhanshil, Dhanasri, Jina Mitra, Mukti Mitra, Padmanava, Virachana, and Silabhadra. The notable Pala texts on philosophy include Agama Shastra by Gaudapada and Nyaya Kundali by Sridhar Bhatta. Many texts on medicine were compiled by Chakrapani Datta, Sureshwar Gadadhara Vaidya, and Jimuta Vahana. The Palas also patronized Sanskrit scholars. Many Buddhist tantric works were authored and translated into Sanskrit. The original tantric verse comprised a variety of Indian and Tibetan texts. The Mahipala Geet, songs on Mahipala, a set of folk songs, were still popular in rural areas of Bengal. Sandhyakar Nandi's epic Ramacharitam, a biography of later Pala rural Ramapala, describes how forest chiefs were bought into their alliance through lavish gifts. Ramacharitam is not related to Rama, it is related to the Ramapala. Okay? This is the Vikramshila University which we are talking about. So this was the Pala Empire. You can see it was, towards the northern side and, the part of eastern part of the India. And this was the flag which is given in the Wikipedia. You can see it in Wikipedia also. Last topic, the Rashtrakutas, the Kannada people. Okay. The rivalry between Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas proved to be destructive to both the dynasties. The Arab traveller Al-Masudi, who visited Kanauj, recorded the enmity between the two ruling dynasties. The Rashtrakutas, who were biding their time to capture Kanauj from Pratiharas, succeeded in their motive and continued to rule until 10th century CE. They claimed descent from the Rastikas or Ratikas, an important clan domiciled in the Kannada speaking region and mentioned in the edicts of Ashoka. Rise of dynasty. The Rashtrakutas were originally known to be feudatories of Western Chalukyas of Vatapi. So they were feudatories of Western Chalukyas of Vatapi. Though Rashtrakutas were very early rulers, the greatest ruler of dynasty was Dandi Durga. Okay, he was the greatest ruler. Ruling from a small part of Berar, Dandi Durga built his career of territorial conquest after the death of Vikramaditya II, 733 to 746 CE, the Chalukyan ruler. He captured Gurjara kingdom of Nandipuri, Malwa, and eastern Madhya Pradesh and the whole of Berar. By 750 CE, he had become the master of central and southern Gujarat and the whole of Madhya Pradesh and Berar. After consolidating his position and after defeating Kirtivarman II, The last Chalukyan ruler of Vatapi, Dandidurga assumed the titles of Maharaja Adiraja, Parmeshwara, and Paramabhattaraha. He developed the relationships with the Pallava ruler Nandivarman II by giving his daughter in marriage to Pallava king. After Dandidurga's death in 758 CE, his uncle, father's brother, Krishna I ascended the throne. Okay? After Dandidurga's death, his uncle, father's brother, Krishna I ascended the throne. Krishna I and his successors. Krishna I defeated the Gangas of Mysore. His eldest son Govinda II succeeded him in 775 CE. He defeated the Eastern Chalukyas. He left the affairs of the country to his brother Dhruva, who eventually crowned himself as the ruler. During the reign of Dhruva, 780 to 794 CE, the Rashtrakuta power reached its zenith. After humbling the Western Ganga king, Dhruva defeated Dantivarman, the Pallava king also. Okay? The ruler of Vengi, the modern Andhra, also had to accept his suzerainty. After establishing his hegemony in south, Dhruva turned his attention towards regions around Kanauj. Vatsarya, the Pratihara king, and the Dharmapala, the Pala ruler, who were contenders for supremacy in the region, were defeated by the Dhruva. He nominated his third son, Govinda III, as the heir apparent. The accession of Govinda III around 794 to 814 CE to throne heralded an era of success like never before. Dantika, the Pallava king, was subdued by Govinda III. Vishnuvardhana, the ruler of Vengi, turned out to be his maternal grandfather, and so he did not challenge his authority. Thus Govinda III became the overlord of the Deccan. The Rashtrakuta Empire reached its height of glory. Govinda III was succeeded by his son Amoghavarsha, 814 to 88 CE. Amoghavarsha ruled for 64 years, and his first 20 years of the rule witnessed endless wars with the Western Gangas. Peace returned when Amoghavarsha gave his daughter in marriage to a Ganga prince. Amoghavarsha was a patron of literature, and he patronized the famous Digambara Acharya Jinasena, Sanskrit grammarian Sakatyayana, and the mathematician Mahavira Acharya. Amoghavarsha was himself a great poet, and his Kaviraja Marga is the earliest Kannada work on the poetics. After Amoghavarsha, his successors were able to sustain the vast empire, but the ablest among them was Krishna III, 939 to 968 CE. Krishna III was the last great ruler of Rashtrakuta dynasty. Soon after his succession, he invaded the Chola kingdom along with his brother-in-law Butunga. Kanchi and Tanjavur were captured in 943 CE. His army remained in effective control of Tondaya Mandalam, consisting of Arcot, Chengalpattu and Vellore. In 949 CE, he defeated the Chola army of Rajaditya in the Battle of Tokkalam in present-day Vellore district. Krishna III marched up to Rameshwaram, where he built a pillar of victory. Thus he succeeded in establishing his suzerainty over the entire Deccan region. It was under him the Rashtrakutas joined the contest that was among the northern ruling dynasties for the control of Kanauj. The continued conflict over the possession of Kanauj emboldened some of the local Rajas to assert their independence. Their defiance destroyed the possibility of a single kingdom ruling northern India with its center at Kanauj. Invasions from the northwest also prevented any such attempts to create a powerful kingdom. But the successor of Krishna III were too weak to save the kingdom from its decline. Religion. The worship of Shiva and Vishnu was popular during the Rashtrakuta reign. The famous rock cut Shiva temple at Ellora was built by Krishna I. The rock cut temple. This is a rock cut temple. It is made of a single rock. A huge rock is, chunked down from the starting, from the top. It was cut down from the top, and it was slowly made into this kind of a structure, which took, many years and lot of effort from lot of craftsmen. The seal has the pictures of Garuda Vahana, of Vishnu, or of Shiva seated in yogic posture. Dante Durga performed the Hiranya Garbha ritual at Ujjaini. Hiranya Garbha you will see in the coming slide. There are references to Tuladhanas, gifts or offers of gold equal to one ounce weight to temple deities. Okay, they will sit and equal to their weight, they will give the gold to the temple. Jainism was patronized by later rulers such as Amogavarsha I, Indra IV, Krishna II, and Indra III. Buddhism had declined and its only important center was at Kanheri. Hiranya Garbha literally means golden womb. A person coming out of this golden womb after elaborate rituals performed by priests is declared as reborn, possessing a celestial body. The Shatavahana king Gautami Putra Shatakarni performed this ritual to claim Kshatriya status. Literature. The Rashtrakuta rulers were great patrons of learning. Kannada and Sanskrit literature made greatest progress during this region. Amogavarsha I was the author of Prasannottara Mallika, a Sanskrit work, and Kaviraja Marga, a Kannada work. Jinasena wrote the Adi Purana of the Jains. Krishna II's spiritual guide, Gunabhadra, wrote the Mahapurana of the Jains. The three gems of ancient Kannada literature, Kavi Chakravarti Ponna, Adi Kavi Panpa, and Kavi Chakravarti Ranna, were patronized by Rashtrakuta king Krishna III as well as by Tailapa and Satyashraya of western Chalukyas. Architecture. The Rashtrakutas made splendid contribution to Indian art. The rock-cut shrines at Ellora and Elephanta, located in present-day Maharashtra, belong to this period. The Ellora cave complex contains the features of Buddhist, Hindu and Jain monuments and artworks. Amogavarsha I espoused Jainism and there are 5 Jain caves, temples at the Ellora ascribed to his period. This is Elephanta caves. Ellora caves I have shown in the previous class. You can see if you want, and if you want to Google and read more about it, you can read it. The most striking structure at Ellora is a creation of monolithic Kailashnath temple. The temple was hewn out of a single rock during the time of Krishna I in the 8th century. It is similar to Lokeshwara temple at Pattadakkal in Karnataka, built by the Chalukyan king Vikramaditya II to commemorate his victory over the Pallavas. The sculptured panel of Dashavatara Bhairava, it's actually Bhairava, Dashavatara Bhairava, Ravana shaking the mountain Kailasha, dancing Shiva and Vishnu, Lakshmi listening to music are best specimens of sculptures inside the temple. So this is the Dashavatara Bhairava and this is Ravana shaking Mount Kailash. The main shrine at Elephanta is artistically superior to the shrines at Ellora. The sculptures such as Nataraja and Sadashiva excel even that of the Ellora sculptures in beauty and craftsmanship. Ardhanarishwara and Mahesha Murti are the 2 other famous sculptures. The latter, a 3-faced bust of Lord Shiva, is 25 feet tall and considered one of the finest pieces of sculptures in India. The paintings are still seen in the porch of the temple of Kailasha and ceilings of the Mahesha Murthy shrines at Ellora. So this is Ardhanarishwara and this is Mahesha Murthy. And this is the Rashtrakuta dynasty. You can see the Kanauj has been captured by the Rashtrakutas and the capital is at the Manikheta. And it is more or less the whole of the Deccan as well as the middle part of India as well as the southern part of India almost going till here. Okay. The Kaveri and all till here and most of this part has been captured by the Rashtrakutas. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you find this video useful. If you find this useful, please like this video and share it with your friends and leave a comment. How did you feel the video? And if you have any sort of feedback or anything you want to tell us, please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you are new to this channel. And that's all for today, guys.